I had this treatment myself 7 times since the age of 48, and I shall be 70 this year. Every 3 years I do it to fight off the aging disease. And I don't take any medications. You know, I finish my work, and I even do a treatment. You know, I do a self-implantation sometimes when there's nobody around, and you know, I never use any antihistamine, never use any steroids, never use any immunosuppressants, and so not a single patient I have been ever involved in the treatment of, directly or indirectly, has ever received any such a preparation. You see, and this is a big issue in the United States. Why? I don't know. It has never been an issue in Europe, regardless whether it's Soviet Union and or Germany. As a matter of fact, the Soviet Union was the first country in the world that issued regulations about cell transplantation. It happened in 1984. The regulation in the United States first time was issued in 1996, so they were 12 years ahead of time. And in that regulation, which is very brief, it's very clearly stated in the Russian, I'm talking about Soviet regulation, okay? Now, if the cell transplants are prepared by the method here described, you know, in not great detail, there is no need to use immunosuppression. 1984. And the last sentence, you know, in the main part is saying very clearly, the preparation of cells from animal fetuses or human fetuses is the same. No difference, okay? And that is the fact of life, okay? You know, during my lectures in India, here and there I would also do patient consultations, you know, for special patients. And this was one of the, you know, heartbreaking of them. It was in the city of Bangalore, which is in the south of India. It's about 8 million people. It's the center of the computer industry of India, okay? A 45-year-old patient comes who was our colleague, physician. His older brother and mother died of a genetic neurological disease already. So he was trying to prevent this. So he himself had a treatment in India. He had stem cell transplantation. And they gave him umbilical cord blood stem cell transplantation and convinced him that this is going to you know, save his life and do everything for him. His own colleagues did it to him. When I saw him, he was you know, about 6 months from death and all of that. I explained the whole situation, and I had no other choice. I had to tell him that they lied to him. I said, listen, umbilical cord blood contains only 2 cell types, and these cell types cannot be turned in in a magic way or form into stem cells of central nervous system. What was supposed to, you know, to help your brain to stop the, you know, this disease and so on and so forth. And you know, and I said, listen, we still can do your treatment even now, but I have to tell you that you are clearly in big misery. And you know, and if you say, you know, I will do it against my, you know, against my opinion, but you have to understand, I cannot promise you that you will get better. I can only promise you we can stop further progression of the disease, you know. And you know, so it's up to you how to do it. I think the patient never came back, at least not to my knowledge. See, this is the whole point about umbilical cord blood stem cell transplantation. It's a good therapeutic method, but it is usable strictly for treatment of blood diseases and immunodeficiencies. Okay, and in some you know, some genetic diseases related to, you know, to the blood and all of that. Finished. Anything outside of it, you know, is not possible to be done. And if the patient is told, yes, we can do it, that is a fraud. Because this is commonly known that this is not possible. And the reason why, as I said, I don't understand why in Anglophone literature the scientists are afraid to, you know, to pick up the knowledge which is, you know, known for 60 years, you know, in German, you know, German language. I hope that you understand, you see, that before Second World War, German medicine was #1 in the world, not US. the reason why German medicine collapsed because Germany got destroyed, during Second World War. So, so they had other problems. They had to worry about the advances of medicine, and so on and so forth. So this is very, very powerful. And when it comes to cells, I have to say, whether anybody likes it or not, but Soviets were very pioneering, and Soviets were very good. And the reason why they were pioneering was also the reason why they were so forwarding. When I worked in that country for 7 years, such a freedom of action, like I and we, I was the only outsider, we had in that country, that is, I have not encountered anywhere. The government, everybody was fully supportive because they were already in it, okay? They already learned a lot. So, and they understood that we are just going to continue in what they are doing, and so they gave us a full support, And the end result is that for me it was the very pleasing, is that I, as a young future doctor in medical school, I wanted to be neurologist or neurosurgeon. I was enamored by brain and all that. But after working 2 years as a clinical clerk in the Department of Neurology, and I was appointed as an assistant professor immediately after graduation, in a few months I went to the chief and I returned my certificate and I said, Professor, I'm terribly sorry, I changed my mind. I will not be a neurologist. I cannot see for the rest of my life right under my nose patients, instead of getting better as a result of being in the hospital and getting treatment, actually going downhill. Now, in Russia, we proved to the world that incurable, untreatable neurodegenerative diseases are treatable by cell transplantation. Before I left, we treated about 500 patients with a variety of such conditions, all of them in very bad shape. It works, okay? But to this date, I didn't find a way how to convince the world, because unfortunately in the West it is like that. If it's coming from Russia, no good. It's an attitude which cannot be overcome. Nobody can accept the fact that they were first in the cosmos. That they are not as bad if they focus. Problem of Soviet Union was always not the lack of brains, lack of organization. And and the certain system where the army took precedence, and over everything, so unless you worked with the army, it was very difficult to accomplish. Adult autologous stem cell transplantation. Why that is fraudulent? Once more, it will do no harm to the patient, but it will do also no good. So the patient, if the patient is given promise that it will work, now that is fraud. And the second is, of course, that the people are paying a lot of money for that experiment, which has no chance to actually accomplish anything. Now imagine that you are truly suffering from incurable or untreatable disease, which has a downhill course, like, for example, all the neurological diseases. And somebody will start to treat you with adult autologous stem cell transplantation, treat you first time, and after 6 months there is no effect, so the patient demands more, so more and more and more. And by the time the patient actually discovers that he has been lied to, it's too late. Even for for our type of cell transplantation, to do something for the patient, because when there is too much damage to too many neurons are damaged, and you cannot, cell transplantation is not cell transplantation. If the cells are gone, they are gone. You cannot transplant new cells back in. Cell transplantation, as we will come later, in reality means that that before the cell dies, it will remain in a damaged state for unknown period of time. From the damaged state, you can bring it back to normal life by cell transplantation, okay? But if it's gone, it's gone. If the cells are gone, they are replaced by scar tissue. What is scar tissue? Scar tissue are fibers and not a single cell. You can, implant a cell right into the scar tissue, but it will not hatch. This is known. So that's why in cell and therapy for decades has been known, you cannot treat scar tissue. That is the rule of the game, okay?